Thanks everybody for showing up. It's the last session, I believe, of today, together with the parallel ones. My name is Joaquim. I'm a software engineering manager at Microsoft. I work for the Azure Core Upstream team. We have many upstream projects. I work for one called Headlamp, this one. But I'm going to shamelessly plug it anyway. In this presentation. That is not about the project, it's about AKS migration and modernization. Actually, modernization of apps and eventual pushing to AKS, right? So very roughly, this is what we're going to look into today. How to turn legacy workloads into containers, prepare them for the cloud. We're going to see how we can do the whole migration from very, legacy code bases to something that looks a bit more modern. And we're going to see how we can accelerate that also into Kubernetes, not just the cloud. So of course, the first question is, why should we migrate and modernize? There are several reasons. There's an obvious one with old software, which is maybe you're using licenses that come to an end or will come to an end. That's kind of it's a good reason because you're going to lose support. You're going to eventually find yourself with software that nobody supports anymore. The other thing is that maybe the environment that you had in your legacy app doesn't have the capabilities, all the capabilities that you find in the cloud. So that's an opportunity to kind of use all these new tools, new in the sense of the legacy apps, I guess. And also it's also a way to change the model of how you are paying for the deployment of that app. Maybe you want to pay as you go. Maybe you want to pay for certain resources. And another thing is to convert apps to AI, right? Which is a recent trend, but an important one. Then there are other benefits like agility, innovation. If you have things in the cloud and you have things in containers, maybe it's much easier to just update them, run the container again, kill the stuff that you got, run it again. Of course, the security, if you have a very old application, maybe it's sitting on software that has lots of CVEs, so you want to be on top of that. And again, if you have it modernized, then you can connect with modern tools, and that's where AI maybe can be a great benefit to your app. So yeah, so it's not even like 5 minutes into the talk, and I'm talking about AI. But at Microsoft, we know the hype is real, and we want to make sure that apps, even legacy apps, can benefit from the AI hype and practical applications, right? So there are several ways that this can happen in an application. But what we're talking about here is to go from just little bits of AI into having something that is integrated, for example, as a native experience, like for example a chat interface into a legacy application. That's something. And for doing that, there is already a lot of tools that you can use. You probably know all of them, or at least a little bit of them here. And this slide kind of divides them between, AI-assisted development, which we're going to look just a little bit about it, and that's part of it, and that's what you use probably every day, things that are in here like GitHub and others, but also to something like if you have your application in the cloud, again, maybe you benefit from tools like those on the right side. Maybe you can benefit from monitoring. Right, before you had to do something else. Maybe you benefit from a managed database, right? So all of those things are the benefits of the cloud, and that's what I'm here to talk about. Now, again, once you have your legacy application, I keep calling it legacy, but it's not like it's not. I believe they may be good applications, right? So once you have them in the cloud, one reason that you might do that is also to keep innovating on it with AI, right? And one of the ways we kind of highlight 3 here. So one of them is you have data associated with that legacy application, and that data was in there, had its use cases for sure, but now you can connect it to an LLM. And now you can use it again to power a chat interface or something else. The other thing is to modernize it, so it's easier, like I said, to leverage cloud resources instead of bringing in every external dependency that you have to keep managing yourself, have to keep scaling yourself. And the other thing is to simplify operations and to get insights in the day-to-day development and operation of that app. For example, Container Insights is an example, but maybe you have Datadog, maybe you have Prometheus. So, yeah. And how do we do that? So, I'm going to show a couple of tools, like I said. You probably know GitHub and its family of applications related to AI. So, who knows about agent mode in GitHub? Yes. Who knows about the coding agent? Similar name. I had to look it up actually because very similar names. So you probably all used the GitHub Copilot chat or Copilot for VS Code, but who has used it with MCP tools? So this is a demo I recorded in the hotel last night actually, and what I'm going to do here is so I created a PR for this project for Headlamp, and pushed the PR. CI failed. I looked it up. It was late. I didn't feel like, okay, I don't want to understand what's going on. So I actually just typed, hey, there's this PR that I got. Name of the PR right there on the right side, right? Name of the PR. Can you check what's going on? And can you fix it, right? The video is accelerated, right, because I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this. But the thing is that because I have the GitHub MCP, it just fetches the information about the PR, and it just checks the logs, checks what's going on, says, okay, I got the issue, it's this problem, and then it starts working on the issue as you expected, right? So you don't even have to, right now, check yourself what's the problem and then say, hey, I got these logs, here are the logs. You can just say, just go figure it out, right? So yeah, eventually it goes through it. It suggests a fix. I allow the fix. I review everything, of course, and I push it, and CI passed. So big success, and that's one thing, right? And this is a very normal demo if you are a developer in the past couple of years, I guess. Now let's go to the next one. Okay. So when I said GitHub Copilot, GitHub Agent, that's something in GitHub which I don't know if you've used it, but you can assign an issue to Copilot. Who has done and tried that already? One person. That's incredible. Incredibly low for what I expected. But let's see if I can show this to you. So let's go here. Does it show up? No? Okay, I'm going to drag it here. Okay. And if I go here, this... Can you still hear me? Yeah. Okay, so this is the issue. I got this issue. Again, this is the project I was telling you about, but this, and by the way, this is not it's not a Microsoft project running on a GitHub account that we got privilege preview to GitHub stuff. This is actually part of the Kubernetes, official Kubernetes project, and thus this is running, you see there, Kubernetes 6, that's the org where it's at. So I noticed that we have this, I won't go into detail, but we got this project tab. It's projects that you are running on Kubernetes. You can say, okay, a project is something that has some namespaces, and it's running on a number of clusters, right? And I noticed that, okay, we don't have the clusters here. So I opened this issue. I said, look, I noticed that when we have a project, there's no quick way to access its related clusters or clusters. I indicated where I sort of thought could be a solution for it, and then I assigned it to Copilot. All right? This was last week. And yeah, and then Copilot started working on it, and it opened a PR. Yeah, it worked. So in the PR, it shows me like a plan and everything. It tells me how far it went in the plan, and even puts a screenshot of the solution. This is an actual screenshot it took, right? So this is exactly what I wanted. So this is one cluster, two clusters. It was nice enough to put a screenshot of those two cases. Yeah, and then I had something that I had to mention to it. Like I didn't love the way that it did it. And then I said, hey, what's going on? I would prefer something else. My colleague was nice enough to say, hey, you have to ping Copilot. So I pinged Copilot. Copilot worked on it, created the solution I wanted, and yeah, updated the screenshots, and that's it. And then I actually touched that PR just to change the commit message and squash everything. And that was it, right? So if you haven't tried it, it's pretty cool. All right, and then just the last thing before we jump into migrations. There's another thing that I feel not everybody knows about, which is this little icon here, Chat with Copilot. How many of you have used this? Nobody, right? So for example, this is an open source project. Many times people go on our Slack and they say, hey, how can I do this and that, right? And sometimes are things that, okay, now we have a big enough team, and even though I started the project, it outgrew, right, what I had done with it. So sometimes I don't know certain things in the project. And I suggest to people, okay, if you have something very technical you want to know, just go to this place, and you can ask questions in the context of the project. Okay, this is kind of almost the same as if you clone the project and you run Copilot and all that, but this is running very fast, very easy for you. So yesterday, I wanted to get an example to show you folks, and I thought, okay, let me ask how the handling of the cluster tokens is done in Headlamp, because we changed that recently, and I wanted to show something complicated. And then he said, oh yeah, you just store it in local storage. And that felt a little bit weird, because I know that we changed it to something much more secure. So what I ended up doing was, okay, can you check if Headlamp docs on how it handles the user cluster tokens is up to date with the implementation, right? And because I knew that it was probably picking up the knowledge from the docs, right? And it went up and said, okay, I found this, I found that, and then it gives me a conclusion. It says, API docs are up to date. They accurately describe token retrieval, but then it says, recommendation, update general and installation docs to include a brief section about how the user cluster tokens are handled after submission. So, and these are the parts that I was expecting it to say, because these are the parts that we don't have in the documentation. So this is pretty handy. I didn't have to do that job myself. And I'm pretty sure that actually it was suggesting to me that I could just ask it, okay, so you suggest how I should do that. Right, and you would check the docs and say, okay, maybe you put this section. That's nice. Okay, now this is what we can do with a lot of these tools. Let's look into migrations. Who loves migrating old software to new stuff? Nobody. That's good. That's what I expected. Maybe sometimes there is somebody special. Yeah, so what migrations typically involve and why we don't like it is that we do have a mechanical exercise. So the team needs to go review all the code, says, okay, this is the snapshot of what we got, right? Sometimes if you're very lucky, you find code that is inherited from a team that inherited from another team, and then it's your job to figure it out, right? So that can get to an extreme case of reverse engineering even, right? But let's say that it's still normal. You still have to document everything that is going on and come up with a plan. Here's the plan. We're going to do it this way. And then you implement it. You do the changes to migrate it to a new version, to the cloud. It doesn't matter, right? And then you test it. Hopefully you got unit tests. All of us cover our software 100% on unit tests, so that's fine. We run the tests. Maybe you have to create new tests. Then things will fail. Then you repeat this process almost from the beginning, right? And that's not even counting on, okay, now you migrated your software to something a bit more modern, or maybe to modern dependencies. How do you push it to the cloud? Pushing it to the cloud is also hard. There are several ways to do this. These slides show 4, from rehosting, just like saying, okay, we will recreate the environment that you have in your legacy app. We're going to recreate that in the cloud. And that's it, and it's going to run. From this way to something like, okay, we're going to rewrite the whole thing, we're going to re-architecture and all that. But the one that I'm going to highlight in here, which is kind of the middle ground, is like, okay, we're going to modernize the dependencies, and we're going to enable the application to run on the cloud. So that usually means you get a container of it. And this is, I was told, this is called lift, tinker, and shift. So you do some modification, you see how it works, you push it a little bit further, and yeah, you go from there. All right, so we got this tool called, so this is something different from what I showed you before. This is the GitHub Copilot App Modernization. And it's a tool that I was told it comes with VS Code now. I checked my VS Code, it was not there. But you can really easily find it on the extensions page. So yeah, and the idea is that you can use this to modernize your app in a matter of hopefully hours, but if not hours, maybe days, but hopefully not months, which is what usually they take, right? What does it do? I'll show you what it does, but yeah, I'll show you what it does. This is how it works. You got the application, and then you feed it to the GitHub Copilot App Modernization, and it runs in a cycle. This cycle goes from creating an assessment, so it's going to check on your application, come up with a plan. Then it's going to upgrade your dependencies and what needs to be updated. Then it's going to start the actual migration, like, okay, I updated these dependencies, let me also change some of the code to work with them, or let me create a container of them, and then it's going to test it, and if you want, it's going to deploy it to a cloud. After that is done, it checks everything again. So it keeps checking, and this is basically what I was saying, that is the usual workflow that humans do when they do the app migration. So what does it look like? So this is a VS Code extension, like I said, meaning that you get a graphical UI. It starts by giving you an app assessment and recommendation. So it's not going to just start rolling and you don't know what's going on. It creates a plan and says, hey, you got these critical things, meaning you should do them. You got some things that maybe are good, and then there are optional things. And these things, as you're going to notice, maybe sometimes it says, okay, now you should migrate to a database. Okay, which database? Maybe you want to migrate to MySQL or to Postgres, right? So then comes the code transformation. It will change some code. It will do some upgrades. The examples here talk about a Java version upgrade. Code transformations, like it runs on the base of tasks. So you're going to see a bunch of tasks. On the left side, I have another video to show you. And you can even add new tasks, or you can change the tasks. If you go through the tasks and you say, okay, this is almost what I want, but it's not quite, you can change it. As I was saying. Then, as it runs, it's gonna be a lot like, if you've used Copilot, it's gonna be a lot like the Copilot agent in VS Code. It's gonna run, things will fail. It will say, okay, this failed, let me try again. And we'll run until it completes the plan. Another thing it does is that it uses Trivy to check for security issues. So it will check the code and the dependencies and everything and say, okay, you got all these issues. I'm going to help you and upgrade it. And then again, it's going to check the unit tests. It's going to update the unit tests. It's going to add more unit tests to make sure that things will keep running. This is the migration. Then there's the app, the cloud pushing, if you want to call it. And that means, like I said, creating a container of the application. And of course, you should push stuff to Azure. That's what it means. There are tasks for it. And this is essentially what I mentioned before. It's the loop that represents the migration. So this is video. Let's look at the video. Where's my pointer? Oh yeah, it's here. Okay. So first, this is the UI that you find in the app modernization. On the left, you got the tasks. And let me just pause it. On the right, you got Copilot. That's important because that's where most of the actual progress is going to be represented. And yeah, you got some options, right? There's no assessment yet because this was just open. In here, it's the tasks. You can see, like, okay, we got already some tasks that you can tweak if you know already what you're going to choose. But usually, you want to say, okay, let me just migrate to Azure. So let's go. So it starts with the assessment. It's creating a plan. It runs a lot of tools that have rules on how things should work. And in this case, it's gonna say, okay, we need to upgrade this from Java 8, which is very old, to 21. And you see, upgrade Java version, so that's one action, but we're choosing to do it now, right? It says it's mandatory because if you want to upgrade, if you want to upgrade, you need to upgrade, but it's not running automatically. So now the developer chooses, okay, let's start with this one. It starts, and again, the thing that it does all the time is it starts by doing the plan. And after the plan, it starts working on it and keeps a progress. Why is the progress important? For two things. So you know what's going on, but also if you stop it, which many times people want to go home and stuff, you can just stop it and continue the next day, and you got the progress there, right? So let me see. Yeah. So now we finished the upgrade to Java 21. And we're gonna say, okay, now we want to migrate the application database to something managed by Azure. So it chose that it was very quick, but it chose that task in there. Again, there's the plan. Again, there's the progress. It goes through there. Of course, this is running super fast, but if you use Copilot, you know that sometimes it pings you, okay, are you sure you want to do this? Do you allow me to check this? And this is essentially it. And again, it works in a loop. So every time something goes wrong, it's, okay, I'm going to try to fix that, updates the progress, and all that. Let's just go ahead with this. Okay, so one second. Right, so finally, it did the actual migration that we wanted. And now we're going to say deploy to Azure, which is the part of putting it in the cloud, right? So we click it, and it says, okay, you want to put it in Azure. Azure is a cloud. I need a container. Runs again a bunch of rules to check what's the best way. Gives you a plan with even like diagrams of the plan and the workflow. After that, it was very fast, but it says, okay, what subscription do you want? Should I use the one that is configured? Yes, and then it uses the AZ CLI to start doing things with the cloud. So it will create the container and push it to the cloud via the AZ CLI again. Yeah, so let's see. It's almost done. You see that in here, it's a lot of data, I know, but it's like it already mentioned that it pushed to the container registry in Azure, and now it says success. Your application was provisioned in Azure in 5 minutes. So this is one example, right? Now let's go to the next example. This one is slightly different. It's the case here is we want to migrate a .NET application from Amazon S3 to Azure Blob Storage, right? And this is running. I've never actually used this, but it's running in Visual Studio, not VS Code, right? But the app modernization is also available in this application, so it's essentially the same. You get a plan. You say, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to change the storage, want to migrate, and then you run the task. Let's see if we can accelerate this. Runs the task. It starts going. It's a very similar interface to the one that we saw before. You get the plan, you get the progress again. So same workflow, right? And then after that, you check the plan. It says, okay, check it, and then tell me if you want to continue or not. We say continue. It just goes ahead with the plan that it created. And I can accelerate this a little bit. Yeah, okay. Okay, so eventually it finishes the change of like the code to use blob storage, and then it says, okay, now you can deploy to Azure. Do you want to do that? And we say go ahead, and it starts now checking actually how it should push things to the cloud. Let me save you some seconds of your life. And you can see, did it pause? Oh. It keeps checking the logs also from of course, from the provision in the cloud. Tells you, okay, these are the API endpoints. Basically everything that you have to do manually. This is it. And yeah, that's another example. If we go now, I got a third example now, and this one is to, let's say you have a Spring application. In this case, is the pet clinic application that we like to show at Azure, and we say, okay, actually we just want to push this to AKS, okay, and we don't want to upgrade. We just want to push to AKS. Same flow. It comes here. It says, okay, there's nothing yet. Let's start with the assessment. And yeah, checks the assessment. Says, okay, this is what we can do for your application. You can again choose to do only some. Of course, you're not going to do like 2 database migrations, right? If you could, but why would you? So now we go ahead and we change the app for the containerization, which is this task here. And again, it's gonna do the plan, check it, and say, okay, continue. Same exercise as before, right? If you're familiar with that screen, that was creating the actual container. Oh, this one is important. So it created a container, and now it's checking that the container runs locally, right? So there's like localhost 8080. It just started the application, checks it by itself, and says, okay, it seems like it's working. So we can go ahead and push it to the cloud. So again, deploy to existing Azure infrastructure. And it goes ahead, says, okay, let's see which Let's see how we push it to Azure, which resource group and everything. And it starts pushing. Then let me see just if I got, okay, the nice diagram again. And eventually, okay, it's already running. Eventually, it's going to show also the application running already in the cloud. So let's give it just a little bit. Okay, it's checking the logs. And it says, okay, the deployment is successful. You can go to that IP to see your application actually running now in the cloud. I know that the video was accelerated, but it required very little intervention from the user, actually. So yeah, so that's the other example I had. Okay, so that was app modernization, which again you can install right now from VS Code extensions. I'm also here to tell you about another tool. This tool is going to be open source very soon. I was told it's going to be today. No, I was told it was going to be yesterday, but plans change when we think they're, Anyway, it's going to be very soon. I think probably it's still this week or next week is what I was told. But yeah, this is a tool that it's similar to the previous one in the sense that it will help you with the Docker files, but this one is dedicated only to the containerization part, right? So the other one gave you the whole thing, created a plan, showed you the progress, allow you to run all those tasks. This one is an MCP server, so you can connect it to your Copilot in VS Code, and you can say, hey, I would like to do something with my Docker file, or I need to run this application in the cloud. Can you help me? And it was, and if you say, can you use containerization assist? If you want to really pressure Copilot to use the MCP server, then it will just use this project, which again has lots of rules on how to update things and the best practices for Docker files and containers, and also does the CV scanning and do that for you. So this is what I meant. And let's look at the demo. This demo, I also created this one yesterday. Let's see if it still makes sense to me because it was late. But yeah, so what I'm going to do in this demo on the right side is this is the Headlamp project again. Headlamp project, of course, is prepared already for the cloud. So I thought it was interesting to still demo it because, one, I get to tell you again about Headlamp, which you should try. And the other reason is that since there is already a Docker file, is this project still useful for you or not? Because probably you already have an application with the Docker file in there that you run in a container, right? So what I did was, okay, can you check our Docker file and do any changes it may need, taking into account the best practices, right? Because that Docker file was actually done before the LLM times. And of course, I say use the containerization assist. That's all I say because I want to really make sure that it uses the MCP server. Otherwise, of course, Copilot can choose to, okay, let me check the tools, or maybe it says, no, I'm just going to figure it out myself, right? So in this case, it actually used, because I asked it to, and it says, okay, I'm going to do it. It runs the analyze repo, which is a tool inside this MCP server. And then it checks what's going on. And again, it's going to provide me with some changes. So it gives me a summary. Okay, you don't have a health check, for example. Mentioned something about cache, about a deprecated npm flag, right? Which is a command we're running inside the Docker file. And usually we're not paying attention to the logs when it says that it's deprecated. So here's a way we can do it. So this is just fixing just the syntax or the format, I guess, on the Docker. But then it says, okay, you saw it removed that old flag that didn't make any sense. It added, let me just pause this. It even added, which is nice, it even added like the labels, right? So I didn't have any labels for the container. It said, okay, I'm gonna add the labels, and it adds a health check, right? So now, of course, if you go to Copilot and you say, okay, can you modernize my app? Can you check the Docker file and do this and that? Probably it will also figure it out, right? But it will probably not run all the checks that the containerization assist tool does, and it will probably not also check for CVEs. Yeah, so it's a kind of a specialized way to tell Copilot, okay, do this thing, but this is the tool that you should use because I know that this tool will give me the best of what I want. Yeah, and it also ran it to check and gives me a summary. Okay. And yeah, of course, after this, I didn't do it, but after this, I can just say, again, because I'm running the GitHub MCP server connected to the Copilot chat here, I can just say, okay, now create a PR for this. And you can go ahead and create a PR for this. So, all right. Now I got a couple of slides that are very cool to show you, but this is essentially to show you that these are tools that are not theoretical, right? We got already clients working with these tools, and this is something that you can start using too. Okay, so now we talked about the whole application changes that you can do and how you can do it in a very easy way, and hopefully you agree that that's very nice when you have such old code. And it's a step ahead of what you can already do with Copilot. So it's a big step ahead, I would say. But then comes the part of, okay, now you have the application, you can run it in the cloud. You can run it in Kubernetes. I hope you run it in Kubernetes, right? And you got AKS from Microsoft. That's cool. But let's say that you learn Kubernetes, which is a complex beast, and you know all the concepts, you know what deployments are, how they create the replica sets, which control the pods and everything. But then you're like, oh, I got Kubernetes from this cloud provider, Microsoft, and now I want metrics. Okay, so what do? How do you get metrics? Now you're going to search about metrics. You're going to find solutions, many. Maybe you find that, okay, that's Prometheus is what I need. But then you're going to see that, okay, so now I have to care about container registries, or do I push my container to a public registry? And okay, so how do I apply actually the workloads to Kubernetes? Do I just apply the YAML files from the command line, or do I use GitOps, or all these things are like extra complexity on top of Kubernetes. I would say that there are so many solutions out there for each little problem that you have, that part of understanding which one is the one that you should use is another problem. Is another part of learning how to handle Kubernetes. So to kind of help with that, Microsoft created this product called AKS Automatic. I think it's GA for a couple of weeks now. And the idea here is that, okay, instead of giving you Kubernetes and then you figure out all the implementations and everything else, we're going to give you Kubernetes that is opinionated, that already has what you need, right? And we're talking about networks. So networking, you're going to have a policy engine already. You're going to have the managed ingress, so you don't have to choose, okay, which ingress flavor should I use? You're going to have the compute, security with Entra, metrics with Prometheus. For dashboarding, you're gonna get Grafana. So all of this is already packaged, and we call it AKS Automatic because everything is automatically done for you now. So for example, like I was saying, you need monitoring, and AKS Automatic already comes with Prometheus out of the box, right? And this means that you get all the benefits of Prometheus without worrying about managing or running it yourself and about updating it and all that stuff. The other thing is, for example, like I was saying, the dashboards. So dashboards, while you have the metrics in Prometheus, you want to see them, you want to watch them, you want to keep an eye on them, and you got already Grafana, and you can create them, you can edit them at no additional cost, right? And yeah, and then how do you handle the code that goes into that Kubernetes consumes? In here, we got 3 options, right? Because some people say, okay, I don't want GitOps, I want DevOps from GitHub Actions and whatnot. So there are these 3 options: DevOps, automated deployments, and the GitOps. So yes, there are some choices, but it's probably much more narrowed down for you than if you had to choose everything from scratch. And like everything with Microsoft, the security is top of mind, and in here it's already also prepared to have the latest and greatest stuff on security. So we got like Microsoft Defender, Microsoft Purview, Anthrof, of course. Yeah. All right. So this is a summary slide for the app modernization that I should probably have bought before, but basically that's it. So if you want to learn more, how do you learn more? You can go to the that's a shortcut, AKS Automatic. There's the AKS community, and there are the community calls that you can join. Yeah, and you can check the app modernization today. I would recommend this, especially if you're using .NET or Java. The containerization assist, I should have removed that link because it's I don't think it's available yet, but it will be this week or next week, but it will be. So that's the end. Thank you.